Hi guys, so this is the module overview for module number 3, and in this one you will be creating a rhetorical analysis paper. So this is a little more complicated than the last paper that you had. The last one was just a story that you had to write, didn't involve any sources or anything like that. For this one it's going to be a lot more structured, and I'm going to ask you to do more complicated stuff. So I'm going to go straight to the paper first, and then we'll go through all of the assignments that lead up to it. Okay, so first of all, the assignment is to write a 2 to 4 page MLA essay that performs a rhetorical analysis of an article of your choice. So rhetorical analysis is basically just explaining what an article does and how it works, and maybe what the writer was trying to do if they weren't doing it well. What's its argument that it's making? How does it support its argument? Is it successful, and why or why not? Is it biased in some way? Is it using ethos, pathos, or logos, which we'll go through in a second? What is its audience? That kind of thing. And basically breaking down like why the paper works the way it does and what its main idea is. So you're going to pick out an article of your choice. It's going to be about something that you are already interested in. So if you want to, you can write about some kind of you can find an article about some kind of like celebrity gossip if you want to. You can write about your favorite. You can find an article about your favorite sports team, or an article about the best place to eat in San Antonio, or something like that. And then break it down in the ways that we're going to look at here in a bit. There's some examples down here. Consider the audience, purpose, stance, credibility, and style. The argument that it's making, ethos, pathos, and logos. The context is important too. Like if it's a paper about how deadly pandemics can be, and it's written in August of 2019, then that's an important piece of context. Also, if it was written in April of 2020, that would be important context, and they would have different reasons for why they were written then. Okay, so if you want some examples, there's some down here you can look at. This is really important. What you don't want to do in this paper is just repeat what your article says, and a lot of people end up doing that. They'll get an article, they'll just kind of put it in their own words, but it'll say the exact same thing as an article. I don't really care about the Dallas Cowboys or McDonald's or how the Kardashians are doing or anything like that. That's not what this paper's about. The article you're reading is about that, but what your paper is about is how that article works. So that's what you need to be focused on, just how the article works, how the author is saying this. If they're saying anything wrong, that's why I'm having you pick a subject that you already know about. If they get something wrong, then you can point that out as well. But explain how the article works, if it's right, if it's making mistakes, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's go back to the modules now. And go back to 3. That's 5, that's 4, that's 3. Okay. So, for this one, you're going to read Chapter 10. The questions are pretty straightforward. They're similar to the ones last time. Explain what rhetorical analysis means in your own words. Look at examples of rhetorical analysis used in the chapter. Write about a take by one of the writers that you disagree with or could add to. So there's some pretty bad takes in there, so you shouldn't have much trouble finding something that you disagree with, and explain why you disagree with it. What's wrong with it? Why is it? What's a different way of looking at it? Number 3, talk about a creative project that you made in the past. It could be an essay you wrote, a painting, a song, a story, a poem, a dance routine, whatever applies to you. That should be a comma. And what was a creative decision that you made that you could have done differently? So if you were painting a painting and you decided to only use red and black as the colors that you used, why did you pick that as your creative decision instead of using all the different colors? Why didn't you use 6 colors or whatever? If you're making a dance routine, why did you use the steps that you did and not other ones? If you're writing a paper, then why did you pick the specific subjects to talk about in that paper, and why did you leave out other subjects that you could have talked about? So this is rhetorical analysis in a way. You're rhetorically analyzing your own work here, but you're explaining to me how something that you made works, and that's kind of what you're going to be doing for these other papers as well. So that's the chapter questions. This one is ethos, pathos, logos, and kairos. And then after that is the advertising. So ethos, pathos, logos, and kairos. You probably looked at this in school before, but this is different ways of looking at an argument, and all arguments kind of fall into one of these categories. Ethos is would be like ethics, or judging something based on ethics or character. So if ethics would be like stuff that's right and wrong, and based on character would be like using an expert in order to judge whether something is true or not. So if I'm writing a paper and I am writing about cancer research, and I find a really talented cancer doctor who's got lots of publications and I cite them, that's an ethos argument, because I don't know about the subjects that they're talking about nearly as well as they do. Also, if I say that it's wrong to eat pork, and then I cite a line from the Bible talking about how you shouldn't eat pork, then that's using the same kind of thing. It's appealing to authority, some kind of authority, whether it's an ethical authority or a expert kind of authority. Pathos. So this is appealing to empathy or compassion. Really good example of this is those commercials that come on in the middle of the night that show all of the sad puppies and kittens in cages and ask you to pay, 30 cents a day to support a cat or a puppy or whatever. Those are appealing to your feelings of empathy and compassion. You want to help those animals, and they're using it to rip off money from you, probably. So that's what a pathos argument is. It's not the strongest kind of argument, but it's probably the one we make most often. And then logos is using logic, reason, and laying it out really clearly why something is true or why it's not true. If you can take a math problem and break it down into all of its different components and show why 1 + 1 = 2, that's a logos argument, because you've laid out very clearly, where anyone can understand it, why that's the result. And then kairos. Kairos isn't necessarily an argument thing, but it's about being in the right place and time. So if I made an argument to that we should invade Iraq in 1980, that would probably be the wrong place and time. But if I made that argument in 2003, then everyone was super on board with doing that, right? So that's kairos, is just having the right place and time for what you're writing, for the point that you're making. A nice example of this would be the I Have a Dream speech, where on that very specific time in the very specific place in Washington, D.C., in front of the big, beautiful pond that they have there, Martin Luther King gave that speech, and it was the perfect speech in the perfect moment to get the message across. So, for these questions, identify a time when someone used ethos, pathos, or logos argument to try to get you to do something. Maybe your mom tried to get you to take out the trash, and she was like, my back hurts and I'm old, so you need to do it. I guess that would be a logos argument, because that makes sense. But if she says, I'm your poor mother, and I'm tired, and I do everything for you, and you never do anything, that would be more of an ethos one. If she says, take out the trash because I'm your mother and I said so, that would be, no, that would be ethos. Pathos is the one about her being decrepit and broken down. Okay, give an example of kairos that you've seen in the real world. So, a time when someone was in the right place at the right time for something to be relevant. Because lots of things happen all the time, but very few of them end up getting famous. So, a time when that happened. Okay, so those are all of the introduction stuff that we're going to do. Next is we're going to try to do some... we're going to actually start planning our paper and drafting it out. So the first part is finding an actual article to talk about, and then here are several questions that break down how you can view that article in different kind of rhetorical analysis ways. So look up an article on whatever subject you're really interested in. Try to find one that's at least 1,000 words. You don't have to write 1,000 words, but you need to find an article that's long so that you have plenty of stuff to write about. Once you have your article, start answering all of these questions. Who wrote it? Tell me maybe who that person is also, and why are they an expert in this field? When is it from, and why is that important? Give a brief summary. And what's the context of this article? Context, again, is like why it was written and the time it was written, and who the audience was and stuff like that. Like, why was it really important at the moment it was written? It could be now that it's important, right? How's this article different than other things people have said about this subject? So, what does it have to add to this conversation that they're having? If it's saying the same thing that everyone else is saying, then it's probably not a very good article, right? Apply ethos, pathos, and logos to it. Tell us the audience, purpose, and genre of the article. How do you know that? And so this is breaking down audience, purpose, and genre. For articles like this, informative is a genre you could have, argumentative is a genre, top 10 list, instructions, etc. The one that I always use as an example in their face-to-face classes is an article that's teaching you how to build a PC, so it would go in the instructive genre. Okay. And then the argument it's making, any paper you do is going to make some kind of argument, even if that argument is just like, you can build a PC yourself. So, break down that argument into what its claim is. You can build a PC, and then evidence, a bunch of instructions for how to build a PC. And then, is it successful, and why or why not? So, do you think this is a good article? If it's missing stuff that you think it needs to have, you can talk about that. If it's jumping to conclusions too fast, or not supporting its points well enough, then you can talk about that. So once you've answered all of these questions, you can take pretty much any of these questions and turn them into paragraphs in your paper, and that's basically what I'm asking you to do. So in the drafting section here, basically that's what you're going to end up doing, is you're going to have an introduction, you're going to have a brief summary of your article, and then you're going to take any of these questions that you felt like you had good answers to and make those into paragraphs. Then your conclusion at the end. And so first you outline it like this, just a couple of words for each one. break down. If you want to, you could just write out topic sentences. That would probably make things easier. Then you're going to write this into body paragraphs. Yeah, so this is actually the topic sentence outline. This one's just words. This one's topic sentences. So I have my thesis statement here and my intro. Just explaining what the actual article is doing. For your thesis in this one, that's a perfectly good way to write a thesis for it. Then I have my topic sentence for my summary. Then I have 4 different paragraphs that I would write, and then I have my conclusion. And then for your body paragraphs, you want to break them down into these 4 different parts. So each one needs to have a topic sentence to start off with, then some elaboration that's coming from you. So that's you just going into more detail about what your topic sentence says. Your topic sentence is going to sum up your paragraph in a very short amount of space. And then you're going to elaborate on that because you can't say everything that the paragraph's about in just one sentence. You need more space than that. Then you're going to have evidence. So this will be a part of your paper that you're, part of your essay that you're looking at. It could be summarizing a section of it. It could be a quote. Whatever you can find is fine. And then explanation. So the quote that you're getting out of your paper or the evidence that you're getting out of it isn't going to properly fit into your own paper very well because it's designed for that paper and not yours. And so explanation is where you kind of break down exactly why this is supporting your topic sentence and your thesis statement. So this is a sample one you can read if you want to. Finally, you need to make a works cited citation. You'll only have the one works cited for this paper because this paper is only going to have the one source. So to make a works cited like this, I recommend using the citation software in Google Docs. You can just Google how to do that, and Google Docs is very simple and easy to use. It's the best one, I think, and it will give you a pretty good MLA citation every single time. Once you've done all of this stuff, once you've turned in all of this brainstorming, then you just need to draft your paper, and you will have until the next, this is all due Thursday, and then you'll have until Sunday to finish drafting your paper. Alright, and so the drafting of the peer review and all of that stuff works the exact same way as last time. For peer review, you'll turn it in Sunday, October 2nd, or dates may vary depending on which class this is for. You'll turn it in that Sunday to the peer review discussion board the same way as before by clicking reply and then uploading it as an attachment. You will give feedback to at least 3 people by Tuesday. They'll give feedback to you as well based on these 9 questions here. After that Tuesday, you'll have your feedback. You'll be able to make corrections to your paper and then turn it in to me on Thursday by 7 p.m. I will then go over it over the weekend, give you feedback, and the final draft will be due on the 18th. Alright, that pretty much covers it. If you have any questions, send me an email.